Hi, Captain Steve for BoatTEST.com, and you've heard of Formula having so many different boats. The crossover bow rider, the super sport crossover, I mean, the list goes on and on. Well, now they're taking the company in an entirely new direction with a center console. This is the 387 CCF. Join me as they do a full features inspection and performance evaluation. Now, this is a fishing boat first and foremost, so let's start our tour right back here in the cockpit where all the action is going to be taking place. Measures in at 5 feet 4 and aft, 9 feet 7 inches, side to side, 30-inch high bolsters, and this area is loaded with details. Let's get right into them. To the sides, there's undergunnel rod storage to the starboard side, a raw water wash down to starboard, freshwater wash down to port, engine flush out, system flush out, transom gate. At the walk-through to the transom, freshwater shower. Right next to that, trim controls. There's a hull side dive door over to the port hand side, and then just below the gunnel over here, socket for electric reels or electric downrigger, and this is one of 4 in the boat, 1 to each side of the cockpit and 1 to each side at midships. TV connectivity, shore power with breakers, shore power 2 with breakers, ladder for the dive door right alongside the dive door. That's nice, point of view storage, and of course a flip out grab handle. Notice when we bring up the bolster for the dive door, beverage holders on the underside. At the transom, flip out transom seat, remarkably easy to stow and deploy. Twin 40-gallon lab wells with multiple pumps. An electric grill right alongside. Storage drawers underneath, and these drawers include switching for the live well pumps and lights. Keeper rail underneath the undergunnel rod storage adds a measure of safety. There are padded bolsters all around. Just ahead we've got the leaning post with plenty of storage, including tackle storage. This is just for switching, and it includes a cooler, and that also acts as a footrest for the aft-facing seating. Now, a couple other features. Fish boxes to both sides. They're macerated and they include freezer plates. Notice the hatches are on friction hinges, so we don't need gas assist struts anywhere. We can slide this forward. And now notice we've got sink, counter space. Fiddles will allow you to put the sink cover right in the center to act as a cutting board. Now, because this whole cockpit area is a comfortable gathering space and a working area, we can put the whole thing under the protection of an extendable sure shade awning above. Side deck clearance to the side of the leaning post at 22 inches. To the starboard side, paper towel storage, temperature control for the cockpit, and a control for the freezer plates in the fish box. Just ahead, trash receptacle, and then over to the port hand side, storage drawer. Storage below includes a 35-quart pull-out cooler, and then behind, spool storage and a temperature control for the freezer plate on the port hand side. Storage to the side decks includes to the port hand side, line storage, and then just ahead, dedicated storage for the stanchions that will support a bow shade, and this will allow us to shade the entire boat from bow to stern. Plus we've got additional storage for a boat hook and perhaps a mop. Fire extinguisher just ahead. Over to the starboard side, fender storage and additional fender storage, and notice we even have dedicated storage for the fender clips. Ahead of the in-deck fish locker, there's another storage compartment. This one has the cutting board for cleaning your fish and a dedicated spot for a 5-gallon bucket. The same thing is repeated to the opposite side without the cutting board. There's a handhold to the side of the console and then a grab rail running the length of the console. Moving forward to the bow, another comfortable gathering area with 2 lounge seats. There's a flip-down armrest in the center, and it has dual USB connectivity ports for both A and USB-C. Dual beverage holders, rod holders to the side, and nice wood trim. Up front, another cooler. This time the hatch is held open by 2 support struts. For safety, bolsters top out at 29 inches, rails top out at 32. And in the center of the deck, there's another fish box held open by tension hinges for the hatch. This one is also macerated. I expected it to be a gravity-fed discharge, but it's macerated. Fully forward, there's a hatch that opens to a concealed Blumar windlass leading to a through-the-stem anchor roller. There's a cleat for taking the load off of the windlass. Control switches are just to the side, as is a washdown port. Now, let's check out the cabin. Door to the port-hand side opens forward, again on tension hinges. Grab rail becomes convenient now. Down below, comfortable opposing seating. Headroom right at the entrance, 6 feet 5 inches. Coming forward, it steps down, and that gives you 7 feet of overhead clearance. There's a 32-inch flat screen TV at the forward bulkhead. We can obviously convert this into a berth by putting filler cushions in here. We can also put a table here, made into a berth, 6 feet 3 inches in length. There are windows to both sides. Opening, we also have privacy shades that can be pulled down. There's a window just above, and we can close the armrest at the forward lounge and close that off. Now, behind the seat backs, electrical panel, batteries, close that, and to the opposite side, there's additional storage plus the hot water heater just ahead. And look at this, the filler cushions along with the table and pedestal. Now, notice the formula difference still present. Upholstered bulkheads, upholstered bolsters, hardwood, fiberglass overhead. There's a Rockford Fosgate stereo, storage, microwave with storage just above, counter space, sink, storage underneath, and then refrigeration. And look just behind, Chilliwich material in the aft bulkhead. Here we've got ahead, I'd like to see a full-length mirror right here. This is a wet head, sink with mirror just above, storage behind the mirror. There are hooks so we can hang our wet gear here if we'd like and get them all hosed down because, as I said, this is a wet head and it's got a separate shower wand. We also have an opening port light for ventilation. Now let's move on to operations, and we'll start right here at the helm. And I'll tell you, I could go on all day about this, but let's just cover the highlights first. Triple 16-inch displays going across the main panel. Electrical switches grouped into sets of 3, and they're all push button, lighted when activated. Beverage holders all the way across, trim tabs, latest generation of the engine controls. Joystick over to the right-hand side, that does include skyhook. Bow thruster, Rockford Fosgate stereo. Huge upholstered panel above the console with a compass center mounted in line with the helm. Steering wheel is mounted to a tilt base. Now notice we have 1, 2, 3 controls for moving the seats fore and aft. The center one is standard. Adjustable for the port and starboard is optional. They include flip bolsters, flip armrests, high-rise seat backs, headrests. Notice that there's also an elevated platform down below along with a footrest molded into the console. 1, 2, 3 inductive cell phone holders. There are air conditioning vents to the sides and the center connected to the 18,000 BTU air conditioning. That air conditioning extends to the lumbar areas of all the console seating. And notice the back of the helm seats with the ladder back trim work, more of the formula difference. Underneath the seats to the port hand side, Shadowcaster for all your lighting, digital switching hub, breaker panel. Then there's a service panel, and then breaker panels, ignitions, battery switches. All of this is under the protection of this overhead, and look at this overhead. It's upholstered, contoured, speakers all the way across, RGB lighting all the way around. There's a center hatch to take you up to the top of it with stairs going right into the center. Outriggers are to both sides, and we've got not only the courtesy lights, but LED spreader lights to the sides, aft, and forward. Overhead, JL audio speakers, spotlight control, engine display, VHF radio. There's an option for a second VHF, and then the Seakeeper display panel right up above that. Now, a couple of things I really like. Beautiful wood tone finish, grab rails going up the side to the hardtop supports, and then tempered glass all the way around, including a forward windshield that opens fully instead of just a small vent at the top. Now, this not only provides outstanding ventilation, but on those nights when you're coming into the channel and you've got all that glare reflecting on you, you bring this up and all that glare is now eliminated. A lot of times I'm coming in at night and I have to put my head out the side of the console just to see ahead and avoid all that glare. Great way to solve that problem. Out through the transom gate, 54-inch swim platforms to both sides of the engines. There's a platform going all the way across so we can easily transition. Rod holders going all the way across the transom. There are rocket launcher style up at the trailing edge of the hardtop. And this is just part of the 36 rod holders located around this boat. Engine choices range from triple 300s, 350s, 400s, these 450 racing engines, or dual 600 horsepower engines, and notice the color matching.
In the center of the deck, a hatch lifts to reveal the freezer plate compressor,
Fuel filters, the optional Seakeeper 3 gyro, 8.5 kW generator,
raw water pumps, and gyro water pumps. The live well pumps are submerged in a sea chest. The Formula 387 CCF has a length overall of 41 feet 2 inches, a beam of 12 feet, and a draft of 46 inches. With an empty weight of 22,500 pounds, 66% fuel, and 4 people on board, we had an estimated test weight of 25,276 pounds. With triple Merc 450 racing engines turning 19 pitch propellers and run up to 6,100 RPM, our speed topped out at 60.2 miles per hour. Best cruise came in at 4,000 RPM and 32.8 miles per hour. At that speed, the 48.1 gallon per hour fuel burn translated into 0.7 miles per gallon and a range of 307 statute miles, all whilst holding back a 10% reserve of the boat's 500 gallon total fuel capacity. Now, to be fair, we should mention that Formula Boats tested this exact model in more ideal conditions of half load, flat calm fresh water, and 2 people on board, and they reported a top speed of 62.7 miles per hour. Being only 2.5 miles per hour faster, we certainly find no reason to question that. In acceleration tests, we reached planing speed in 6.9 seconds, 20 miles per hour in 9.1, 30 in 15, and 40 came and went in 22.5 seconds.
It's so easy to tell that this is a Formula. It's such a solid boat, 20,000 pounds, so she's heavy, and that gives you a good solid feel as you're going through the waves. We've only got 1 foot of windblown chop going on here around us. No pounding, no slamming into the waves, just slicing right through. I found in these conditions the best speed, most comfortable speed, to be about 40 miles an hour. She'll do over 60, but 40 was a nice one with this. It was just pushing right through the waves, no adverse effects whatsoever. She's quite responsive to the steering. I only found I needed a half turn to get it to respond how I wanted to, and that's out of a 4 turn from lock to lock responsiveness. So you really don't need to be aggressive with the steering. She's not quick to come on plane, but you don't want her to be either. Just bring the throttle up, let her get up on plane, get that bow down, and she's good to go. I ran her on automatic trim, and that seemed to take care of everything nicely. I took the trim off and started handling it myself a little bit. I was able to squeak a little bit more speed out of it by doing it manually, but that's not really necessary, and it didn't happen at the cruise speed, only the top end speed. So cruising along, let the auto trim take care of it for you. As for the Seakeeper, not much to contend with here either. I mean, with it turned off, we were doing 2, 4 degrees average. Turn the Seakeeper on and it immediately snapped down to 0 and 1 as expected. It's a stable boat and a solid boat. I don't feel any sense of instability at all, especially with everybody moving from side to side. Not happening. If you put her into an exaggerated hard turn, she'll roll about 20 degrees into the turn, and she tends to dig her shoulder in a little bit, so you'll bleed off a lot of speed that way. But you certainly don't need to do your turns like that. Keep it more sedate and docile, and you can make it into a 10-degree turn, 9-degree turn, and be much more comfortable. There certainly is a lot to like in this 387 CCF. In my opinion, this is a great direction the Formula is taking. It's one with a formula for success. As Scott Porter said, the question isn't why is Formula moving into the center console market, but what took them so long? And that's my full features inspection and performance evaluation of the 387 CCF. For BoatTEST.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.